Hey folks, and welcome to this week's Friday Facts discussion, number 383, Super Force Building. I'm Exterminator, and thank you for joining me for this one. Now, I've said this multiple times before, but of course, not all of these Friday Facts can be, elevator rails and bridges and space platforms and other planets, which is ironic because we see a space platform here, but that's not what this is about. This is pretty much an entire quality of life related Friday Facts for quality of life features and changes, and it's quite short too, but some really good stuff. You know me, I love my quality of life features, so let's just hop right into it. Basically, they just show the kind of near finished animation for the building of the space platform that they very briefly showed last Friday Facts, but it's much more finished at this point. They say it isn't completely done, but mostly this is probably generally what it's going to look like. And like I said last time, I really love it. Like this looks great. It's oh man, this just looks so good. I really actually I like this a lot. I could just watch this. Like I can imagine doing just a massive expansion, like multiple chunk space worth of expansion, like blueprinted this out and just see it all building. That sounds pretty amazing. But let's hop down into the meat of this, which is Super Force Building. So the name of this kind of, I don't know about you, but it threw me off a little bit. But basically, what this is that it's like an upgraded version or a more beefy version of something that we already have in the game. So they go on to say that in the recent Friday Facts 380, we talked about the possibility of building ghost entities on top of ghost tiles, so you don't have to wait until landfill or space platform tiles are finished to build on top of them. It's nice, but obviously it was just prep for the main feature we all miss so much, this super forced building, which is Control-Shift-Click by default hotkey. In the beginning, we had just the normal way to build blueprints, and anything in the way blocked the blueprint from being built. So this is like going back like a way long time ago, because then soon after this, and this is like what we currently have in 1.1, is that you can then hold shift and place a blueprint, and it will get rid of things, most things, not all things, but most things like trees and rocks and stuff like that, which is the force building mode, which is really nice in most cases. But there are edge cases here and there that they felt it still wasn't enough. That, they say like space platform building was the last push, where we just couldn't ignore this anymore and had to implement it. With landfill, it is an occasional problem as water is not everywhere, but with space platform building, it is always a problem. Basically that, it doesn't add it. Like you can do this with, if you put landfill in a blueprint, like if you take a blueprint and have it include the landfill tiles, then you can place it with landfill. But if you just take a blueprint without that, normally in 1.1 and then go to place it, even if you hold shift or whatever, it won't just autofill landfill under it, unfortunately. And the same obviously would apply for space platform, which is a problem. So they went ahead and added this basically where it will now just place it under it, whether it's already in the blueprint or not. Once we already had the super force building mode, it was natural to include other properties of it as well. So the mindset behind force building is that you want to force the full blueprint no matter what, like building rails to a solar field. This is how we made it behave. So yeah, basically you go to place a blueprint, hold shift or whatever, or maybe a different, it will be Control-Shift-Click at this point, and it says we'll mark anything in the way for deconstruction. So obviously you want to be a little careful with this, but generally speaking, this is super great. It's like just imminent domain. If there's something in the way, it's going to be marked for decon and bye-bye. And this is great. I don't really see any downsides to this as long as you're, a little careful with it, so you're not just marking a ton of stuff down that you don't want to be. But then of course there's the undo key, which is fantastic anyways. And then they go further to say manual super force building, which is the very same concept essentially, but they wanted to introduce that to when you just manually build. So you can see they're just holding, like they don't have a blueprint, but they just have a ghost with the picker or whatever, and they hold shift and go to place it, and it will decon anything in the way, like this laser turret, which is, again, super nice. I really, really like that. And actually my favorite part of all of this is belt integration. So once I got used to it, there was a problem that started to emerge we would super force build over belts and then have to manually fix them right after. And this type of thing bothers me quite a bit, actually more than maybe I realized until I read this. But like this is how it would work in 1.1, where you could like place a thing. Okay, well maybe not quite in 1.1 because there's no super force building, but essentially like it wouldn't, it would get rid of the belts, but there'd be no undergrounds. You'd have to do it manually. But now it does all of it for you. And they basically say if you were a regular reader, you know that the word manually is always an indication of change, which I love. So you can see, boom, place a rail through the belts, removes it. Road ports, like road ports is a big one, or substations, radars. It will remove the belts, and underground, obviously if it can, if there's enough reach and stuff, it'll just underground things where you did that. Or same with, maybe doing like belt balancers or split offs or something, or pipes like this. It's just so nice. You can see so many different examples here, and this just takes out an extra tedious step that maybe wasn't always a problem, but when you had to do it, it was quite annoying. And this is just absolutely fantastic. So overall, love all these features, all the new things you can do with blueprints, ghost building, super force building, all really great. And it's of course going to be super handy with the space platform as well. And then we get to the last section. Again, I said this one is quite short, but again, very good. Mining landfill. This has been I think a very, very highly requested feature for a long time, to be able to remove landfills. So they say landfill has always been a little bit tricky. As it stands, it kind of breaks a fundamental symmetry in the base building in that everything you build can be unbuilt and mistakes erased without judgment. But with landfill, one wrong click and it's there forever, which I've definitely had issues with. I don't always draw my landfill exactly straight and then have to deal with it. So it has long been on our wish list to make mining landfill work, but the code and logic around the building and mining were not set up effectively for it. One major problem is that the tile placement / removal would instantly and uncompromisingly destroy or kill anything that was colliding with it when it was changed. Additionally, mining landfill is a specific case of making the system generalized for all combinations of placing and mining tiles with varying collision masks. For example, placeable water mod would involve touching a lot of systems, building, mining blueprints, upgrades, etc. So first off, maybe I just had like a misunderstanding or misread something a long time ago. I actually had the impression, like I didn't realize it was the case that they wanted to do this and it was a code limitation. I thought that they just didn't want to do this. Like that was my impression. So I'm just saying this is interesting because it's interesting, good for me to know that they have actually wanted to do this and it was just a limitation. I this whole time have thought that like they could do it and they just didn't want to. They just thought that it should be this way. But I'm really glad to hear that they're basically with the community on this, that landfill should be able to be mined, and it now can be, because they say with the super force building, the problem of no way back, building landfill was even more dangerous and liable to misclicks, so we knew we had to make mining landfill happen. Through hard work and dedication, Roman was able to clean up all the tile building and mining code, handle all the cases of collision between entities and tiles, make it work in a really nice and intuitive way. You can even see some evidence of groundwork for this back in 1.1.5 release in December of 2 years ago, where we added the tile prototype check collision with entities. So yeah, you can now just, I would assume it's right click, just remove it, or you can, even better yet, use robots to remove it. However, it will not remove the landfill directly under you, which is good. You won't just cartoon style drop through it into the water. And then it's not removing actual land. So the green part obviously was just naturally generated already there. They still don't want you to be able to necessarily remove land that's already there, which I'm fine with. But it just removes all the landfill except for the piece you're standing on, with a little bit of a buffer around you, which is super nice. And again, having it being able to done with robots makes sense and just makes it even more convenient. And so they basically just go into this. They say, but typically entities on top, furnaces, machines, etc. will also be marked for decon anyway, since they could be removed. Obviously, your player can't just be deconned, so that's why it worked that way. With the new Superforce building, it is only natural that we make the integration with landfill work in the opposite direction. Basically meaning so you can see here, And man, this is so nice. So if you have landfill and then you want to place pumps, you can use a superforce building to have the blueprint, or maybe even just have the ghost in your hand and place it, and it will remove exactly enough landfill to do this. Now, again, it will not remove generated land, so like you can't just go in the middle of the continent and make a hole for a pump. But if you've landfilled over something, especially, so this would be really good for something like nuclear reactor builds, like in the middle of a lake where you landfill out. Maybe you messed up, or maybe you just want to make it easy and not have to gauge like exactly the size. Because right now it's like if you want to put nuclear in a lake, you have to know exactly the size you need so you don't build too much landfill in all the wrong places and you're stuck with this ugly mess. Now you could just landfill a huge chunk and then just get rid of it where you don't want it. Ghost in your pump where you need it. Boom, it creates a space for it, and you're good to go. This is just super nice. And there we go. That's the Friday Facts. By far the shortest one we've had here. But again, just even these two main features, the superforce building and the removal of landfill, is fantastic. And again, this just goes to show like how many little things they thought of and decided to implement. I would imagine all of these features are something that will just be in Factorio 2.0, like whether you buy the expansion or not. Once that whole update comes out, these will just be natively in the game, type of thing. So, whether you want to buy the DLC or not, you'll get these type of things, I would imagine, and it's really great. And I'm sure there's just a huge list, a plethora of other quality of life type things, whether it's new things or just modified things like this, that they're upgrading, adding, changing for the better. And this is fantastic. And I mean, that's it. This is why I love the Factorio dev team, because they just think of these little things and they actually put in the effort and put in the thought, and they actually play their own game. And it's just awesome. We're seeing a lot of games nowadays where that's not really the case, and Factorio's not one of those issues. The devs always put in awesome work and look at the little details and make all these little adjustments and improvements, which is awesome. So I can't wait till next week. Not really sure what it's going to be about. We have had a system lately where it's been like they reveal part of something, which then the next Friday Facts, ties into that, and they revealed it so they can reveal like a bigger full thing. This kind of just ended as it is, so I'm really curious what we'll see next time. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, for me, this is all good news. If there's anything you don't like about this, I'd be curious to hear it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it and are excited about these features as well, definitely throw a like on the video if you're willing. And if you're new, welcome. Feel free to subscribe to keep up with all future content. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.